Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first live streaming on this channel. This is really just an experiment on my part to see if anybody will even show up. I'll hang out here for a few minutes. But the idea was to just chat about kayaking, chat about this channel a little bit, maybe talk about West Side Boat Shop kayaks and field some of your questions. So let me give it a few minutes here and see who shows up. So we'll just get rolling. Somebody popped in and popped out. This is going to be recorded in any case, anyways. But yeah, this channel started out all about kayaking because I truly believe that kayaking is the best exercise you can possibly do. It's a great combination of strength, it's resistance training when you're paddling in the water. You're outside, and it's also great cardio work. And you're using pretty much all your muscles in your body. You're using your legs, you're driving that energy into the boat. You're twisting your torso, so it's great on the lats and the obliques. And it's a full body engagement. I think if you're in the gym, the only exercise that would come close would be the rowing erg, because again, you're engaging just about every muscle and every part of your body. There is your legs and your arms, and it's just kayaking to me, that's my sport. It's absolutely my sport. I train all year round. I obviously am on the east coast of the United States. I'm outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. So the weather here can get cold in the winter times and our water will freeze. So some of the training I do during the winter is inside. I hit gyms, I use resistance equipment, anything I can do to build my legs, my obliques, and my lats, I like to do because those are the main paddling muscles, right? So you're you're planting a blade in the water, you're twisting your torso, that's working your lats and obliques, and you're also pushing that energy into the boat through your legs, so your legs are engaged as well. Some of the best exercises to hit that in the gym are like the lat pull down, or I'll do like a bent over barbell pull up that really works the lats. Um, and also, I built myself a indoor kayak ergometer for training in the wintertime indoors. And some of you on this channel will know that that was one of the projects I did in one of the winters a few years back. I took apart an old Nordic Track ski machine and fashioned it into a kayak ergometer. And then I had the bright idea. I put the video up there. People kept asking, how do you build one? Do you have plans? How do you build one? And I really just built it for myself to see if I could do it. And then I decided, hey, why don't I just go into the garage for a weekend and build another one and film it as I go and then sell the video plans to that. And that's what I did. And turns out this thing has a bit of a cult following, and people have been so kind as to purchase those plans. So you can go to my website, main website at davethekayaker.com, and you will see plans. Just do a search on there and you'll find the blog post that talks about building your own kayak ergometer from a Nordic Track ski machine. Kayaking is one of those sports that you can get into at any age. And as you age and get older, your skills tend to improve. Your river reading skills, water reading skills get better. And some of the best competitive at the competitive end of the sport, some of the best people are the older people. The younger people tend to just think it's all about muscles and pulling with your arms and going all out. And as you get better in the sport, you'll learn that's not what it's about. It's about technique, work on your technique, get your stroke as efficient as possible, and really work on your cardio, and you learn how to pace yourself. You learn how to read water. You learn how to pace yourself. So especially if you're racing, you know how much energy to leave in the tank for the end. And as you do longer paddles and different length races, you gain experience, and you learn how hard you can push early on and what you need to leave left in the tank to finish later. recreational kayakers, if you want to get into the sport, I would suggest you buy a used kayak somewhere on Craigslist, or just look, whatever your local classifieds are. Buy somebody's used plastic kayak. Get one that's kind of wide to start out, because if it's wide, it's going to be stable. Um, and I recommend you get a used one, because odds are you're gonna paddle it for a season or two, and you're gonna find out you want something better, you want something faster. So you don't really want to overbuy a kayak up front. You want to kind of get something that you don't care if you keep 2 years later. You can always sell it off again used, and there's always a market for used kayaks. So I would say get into a good wreck kayak. If you get into one of these plastic kayaks that you buy at a big box store, that's fine. That's perfectly legit. But I suggest you go used, and just get out there, paddle. When you're on the water, you're almost always somewhere just absolutely beautiful. And then as you progress in your skills, you're probably going to get, your next step beyond the entry point in recreational. You'll probably want to look at like a sea kayak or something like that, something a little bit longer, a little bit narrower. It's going to be more efficient. You're going to get more out of your workouts. And once you kind of get to the point where you're efficient and you're covering more distance in the same amount of time during your kayak outings, that's kind of where you start to get hooked. You say, oh boy, I can actually cover some distance and see some nice things out here, with less effort in a lot of cases. So yeah, get into the sport at the recreational level, progress up. Some of us have progressed up more to the fitness and racing end of the spectrum, and those, we're talking boats that are usually pretty long and pretty narrow. Most beginners can't get into a boat and even sit in it and keep it upright. That's how tippy they are. But it takes a while to progress up to that point. And that's a lot of the audience I address here on this channel, kind of the fitness paddlers, the performance paddlers, the racing paddlers. A lot of my videos that I do are about races, and I try to document my experience at races. And so people who come back in other years, that they can scout off of my videos, see what the race is all about, actually look at the water conditions, so they're more informed about what they're getting into. Because I hate to see a new person show up at a race and for them to realize they got in over their head, that they committed to something that's beyond their level. Especially downriver races. I know I still get a little anxious when I try a new one, because you try to figure out what boat you want to take. If you have more than one boat, you try to figure out what kind of water it is. Is it white water? Are there a lot of rapids? And then until you've seen it or been there, in the back of your mind, you're always worried about what's coming up around that next bend. Am I going to beat my boat up against some rocks? Is there a set of rapids that's beyond my level? So I just figure if I can scout rivers and put it up on YouTube, and people can see and scout races and rivers before they commit to paddling on them, that's a good thing, and I'm happy to do that. Last 2 summers ago, actually, 2020, I had the opportunity to buy my favorite kayak company, and that was a company called Westside Boat Shop Kayaks. You see that right here. By a gentleman by the name of Doug Bushnell. He owned that business, and he retired. He was getting up in years already. He was in his early 80s, and he hadn't really sold a boat in a couple years. And one of the boat building magazines online, I noticed a small classified ad in the back of that, where he had listed the business for sale, and I think he wanted $30,000 for it. And I talked with a couple buddies of mine, and saw if there was some interest in buying that business if we all pitched in, because I couldn't do it alone. And my buddies weren't really all that interested, and I was a little disappointed. I wanted to try to save that company if I could, but I realized I didn't have the financial resources to do it. Well, fast forward 18 months or so, I ended up talking with a guy by the name of John Allen, who was selling a couple Westside Boat Shop kayaks. In that conversation, actually, he had a Westside Boat Shop Marauder for sale and a Thunderbolt X. And in those early discussions with him, he mentioned that he's into old cars. And Doug Bushnell, who owned Westside Boat Shop, was also into old cars. He actually restored an old Packard. So John was telling me that he's friends with Doug. He talks with him regularly. So I just mentioned to John, hey, said, hey, I respect Doug and I love those boat designs so much. I said I looked into buying that business a couple years ago, but I couldn't afford to. I said, you know Doug better than I do. I said I don't want to call him and possibly insult him or get him mad, but in your conversations, would you maybe kind of feel him out a little bit and see if he'd be willing to sell, two or three of the boat molds? Because I felt there were two or three designs I really, really wanted to save, but I couldn't buy them all. So John said, sure, I'll talk to Doug about that the next time we talk. And I don't know, gosh, it was only a day or two, maybe three that went by, and the phone rings, and it was actually a call from Doug Bushnell himself. And he said, yeah, I talked to John Allen. He said, you're interested in some boat molds. And we got to talking, and we worked out a deal where I was able to buy the whole business from Doug, all the designs, the molds. It was an asset purchase agreement, technically, is what we executed. So all the trade names, all the boat designs, everything that was an asset of Westside Boat Shop, I purchased and I own. So I found a perfect partner with Joey Schott over at Turning Point Boatworks, which is over near Richmond, Virginia. And I had talked to Joey a year before, because I had an idea of designing my own boat, and I was picking his brain. I was like, what do I need to do if I'm going to build a boat? And Joey explained, look, you probably want to start with cedar strips, build your design, and then you basically that boat can become a plug. And then from that plug, we can mold it and build molds out of it. So I was kind of going down that path. Somebody gave me a whole bunch of cedar strips. They were on my back patio. I was designing boat designs in CAD software on my computer, and man, I just played and played and played and played. And I got a design that I thought would be really cool. And right as I was about to start building, the pandemic hit, and supplies were almost impossible to find. So I put that project on hold. And then lo and behold, I had this discussion with Doug Bushnell, which it just kind of short circuited the process. So now I have some boat designs to start with, and I'm going to make some modifications and take some of Doug's great designs and turn them into something a little bit, different, perhaps. And it's going to be really, really targeted toward the U.S. inland racing and fitness community. I don't live near the ocean. There are plenty of wonderful surf ski designs on the market. There's no sense in reinventing surf skis for surfing ocean swells. There's so many tremendous options out there already, from Epic and Stellar and Think and Nilo. There's so many great ocean skis out there. There's no point in trying to reinvent that. So I'm kind of reimagining what an inland racing boat can be in the U.S. inland waterways. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. A lot of people call me now that I own the Westside Boat Shop, Westside Boat Side Shop business, and they start talking specs. All right, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm currently paddling a 16-foot, 23-inch wide, this and that. Do you think I could handle your EFT, for example, or do you think I could paddle your Thunderbolt X?" Some people just call up and say, "Hey, I'm an avid kayaker. How tippy is the Marauder?" Well, it's not that straightforward. It's not that simple to answer questions like that. It's not until you understand what experience somebody has and what boat they're paddling and their proficiency with it, can you kind of wrap your mind around what boat might be a next logical step for them. What I don't want to do here is oversell a boat on somebody who's not ready to handle a fast, tippy boat. These boats are long and skinny. That's what makes them fast. And they're only stable when you're paddling them through the water. If you're sitting in it, it kind of wobbles. So I don't want to put somebody in a boat that's too much boat for them. So I'd like to have the discussions, learn their paddling experiences. If they mention some boats that I'm aware of that I know that are kind of racing type designs, or at least touring designs, then I've got a benchmark as to what their paddling skill level is likely to be. Still, I prefer people to come and test paddle the boat they actually are interested in purchasing. I've had a few people come through town here, and it's the best way to act for me and you, for me to know that you can handle the boat and it's what you will love for hopefully the rest of your life. But it gives you the peace of mind to know, okay, I've paddled this boat, I'm comfortable with it, I can handle it. So that's how I prefer to do that. So I don't like to get into long, drawn out discussions about boat specifications. Some people will split hairs over, half an inch of width on the boat, or even worse, they'll obsess over like a pound or two in the weight of the boat. That in most cases that doesn't matter. When you're talking a light fitness boat, a pound or two or three or four or five in the boat really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not going to put the boat further down in the water that much more. Odds are, at least for most Americans, you're better off losing that 2 or 3 or 4 pounds off your body than you are paying the premium that it would cost you to take that weight off the boat. So I don't want to get into specifications with people just and get into a back and forth. It's a good idea to like talk in generalities that, well, yeah, if you're coming from a 23 or 22 inch wide boat, it's a big leap to go to 20 inches. And from there, going down to 18 or 17 inches wide, that's another leap. So it's good to kind of get their frame of reference and know where they're coming from. So anyways, I love to talk kayaks. I love to talk about Westside Boat Shop kayaks. Give me a ring, if you will. Phone number is 804-608-9727. That's a Google voice number. If I'm available, I answer it day or night. If I'm not available, it'll go to voice and I'll get that message and I will return your call. I've got the full catalog up now, the 2023 catalog up at davethekayaker.com. And near the top on the right, you'll see a link to the Westside Boat Shop catalog. Let's talk about this channel a little bit. My subscribers have really gone up here in the past couple months. And a lot of that is due to smartwatch reviews. Early on, again, I started this channel just to be all about kayaking. I put videos up. Not too many people watched them. And then I think the first watch I ever bought, it was something called the Amigo. It was the first watch I saw where it looked very innovative, where it was a wristband that also had a little shoe pod that you clipped onto your shoelaces. And it claimed to be able to take all those axes and put them together and recognize exercise patterns. So they were billing it as something that it would automatically recognize your exercises and you could train at new exercise movements. So I thought, hey, this is great for kayaking. I'll just train this thing what the moves are in kayaking, and in the gym. I thought, hey, this is something and that's how they build this thing, or sold it, was it would recognize what exercise you're doing and count the reps, and then you just enter the weights. Well, they were selling that on a crowdfunding site, and I monitored them. I watched them, and I wasn't going to invest in something that wasn't real yet. So I waited until they were taking pre-orders and they were putting pictures online of their production runs. And I was like, okay, this is real enough for me. So I ordered one, was very disappointed with it, did a review video, and people started watching that video. Okay, more so than my kayaking videos. Then I bought the Amazfit Arc and I did a review on that. Turns out that was like one of the first reviews of that watch on the internet. And then traffic I got a lot of traffic from that video. So that kind of got me into reviewing smartwatches. And at that point, some companies reached out to me and said, hey, saw those reviews. Would you be interested in reviewing ours? And they would send me watches in exchange for a free, full, fair, and honest review. So I did that. And now it's kind of become a little of a cottage industry, but it's all really to support this channel. The smartwatch reviews really support this channel. I hope kayakers don't mind that I do this, but because that's really the only way I can monetize this site is from the people who come here for the smartwatch reviews. And I think that fits really nicely together with kayaking. I'm into health and fitness. Sometimes I venture into, diet and nutrition and gym exercises and things like that. So I feel like anything within that realm, I'm happy to discuss. I think smartwatch technology fits in there nicely. Lately, I've did a little mini run here of smartwatches that either do red laser light therapy, which I never believed was real or did anything, and then some newer ones came out that alleged to do blood glucose monitoring non-invasively, just by shining diodes or lasers into your wrist. I thought that was complete nonsense as well. But I've done a little run of these types of watches, and my bottom line is, I if somebody is saying they have got a blood glucose monitoring smartwatch that's non-invasive, I simply don't believe them. I don't think the technology is there yet. It's not ready for prime time, and I think any device you find out there that's making any sort of medical claim that's not FDA approved, assume it's garbage. Okay, it's probably a toy. If it actually is measuring an EKG accurately or blood pressure accurately, it should go through the FDA approval process as a health device. So they don't sell these things as health devices because they know they would have to get that approval. And a lot of these things really they just flood in from China. And I found a lot of the descriptions and the way people market these things, it's just made up. It's nonsense. They'll say whatever it takes to sell a smartwatch. So that's my smartwatch review. My reviews. Let me know what you'd like to see on this channel. Again, this live streaming is just kind of an experiment on my part. I wanted to go live, talk to some people, maybe get some questions and interact. Race season is coming up, so pardon me, my pipes are getting a little dry there. Racing season is coming up soon. My first races will be in I think March or April of this year, so I'm starting to get excited. I'm starting to kind of back off the weights in the gym. I kind of go heavy in the winter time, and then usually like February, March, I back off the weights in the gym, and I try to paddle more, and I boost up my cardio. But I do paddle year round, and I try to lay down at least 10 miles with every outing I do. But I don't push it. I don't push it during the winter time. I almost hardly ever push hard in my on water training. To me, it's all about working on technique and endurance. And when you're in a race, you just automatically kick into another gear and you paddle harder and faster. So that for me, that comes naturally. So I don't train really hard. I don't do intervals. I don't do sprints. I just go for longevity and conditioning. And I find that gets me in the where I need to be come racing season. Now, usually I have a winter project that I do when the weather turns nasty. The weather hasn't really gotten that nasty here yet in Central Virginia. So I've not done a winter project yet, but I did have the people from kayaktobar.com reach out to me. I'll give them a little shout out. And what this is a little tow bar that you attach to a rack on the back of your bicycle, and you can hook the front of your kayak in here, and then the back of your kayak you put on like a kayak cart, and you can pull your kayak with your bicycle wherever you need to go. So I have a rack on the back of my bicycle, so I got the tow bar from, again, the great people at kayaktobar.com. And I went out and had to buy myself a bike rack. This will go right onto the seat stem of the bike. And then this particular rack here, you see this bar underneath. I can slide this tow bar right over that. And if I take this luggage carrier off, I can slide it the whole way in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll drill some holes to secure this to my bike. And then, the kayak carts that you see people using are usually kind of big wheels, and they're for pulling a kayak across a beach or sand or something like that. Well, I live 5 or 6 miles from my waterway, and I'm going to be pedaling my kayak on roads and whatnot. So I'm going to head to the hardware store over the weekend, this weekend or next. I'm going to buy some PVC, and you can look at some people's designs online where they've designed these kayak carts out of PVC pipes. I'm going to make a modification. I've got these wheels from like rollerblades or like skis, and I'm going to use these as the wheels because these are going to be much more efficient getting that kayak on streets and whatnot, and these should last a whole lot longer than those plastic wheels you see online for people, schlubbing these things across beaches and whatnot. So I'll do some video and take pictures of that when that project happens. I don't know what else to say here. Vbars. People ask about the Vbars on my vehicle, and what a V-bar is. They look at it and say, "Oh, those are funny looking wrecks. What the heck are those?" Well, these are made. This connects to one end, then you have a long aluminum tube, and then you have another set of V's like this at the front. These are designed to take those long racing kayaks. You mount this to your crossbars on your vehicle. And what this does is give you anchor points farther apart. So for the longer kayaks, the V's are spaced much farther apart than the crossbars on your luggage rack. So it's a better way to transport a long, skinny kayak. So that's what V-bars are. If you're in the market, I would suggest you go to Good Boy Paddle Sports. Cliff Roach, he makes the best ones out there. Don't mess with any others, in my opinion. Just go see Cliff at Good Boy Paddle Sports. And I think I'll leave it right there. I do have if you go to davethekayaker.com, I have a GoFundMe set up. It's listed under support a new kayak company. And that's because when I bought Westside Boat Shop kayaks, I had to transport all the molds down here to Charlottesville, Virginia. A good friend of mine is loaning me the loft of her barn, which it wouldn't have happened without Susan doing that. Susan, thank you so much. So all the molds are in a barn. If I had to pay a monthly fee for a storage unit somewhere, it would be, I would have to make some hard choices about what molds to keep and which ones not to keep. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. They're secure in this barn. We talked over Christmas, and Susan said, "Hey, keep them there as long as you need to. We're happy to help. We don't need the loft of that barn." So the future of Westside Boat Shops are secure, as are all the designs that I have. So that was my biggest worry about, okay, what if these people tell me I've got to get out of their barn? I was like, what do I do with all these molds? Where do I put them? How much is that going to cost per month? Anyways, I trailered all these things down here. That was at considerable expense. I had Joey over at Turning Point Boatworks build me some demo boats, which I paid for. I've got the Westside Boat Shop Delta. I've got the EFT Sleek, and those, even at my prices, those are not cheap boats to have. So I've laid out a fair amount of cash to get this business going, and I started the GoFundMe. Just if people are if they find it in their hearts to help out a little bit, drop me a little bit of cash there. I'd appreciate it. Again, there's a link on my website at davethekayaker.com that will take you to the GoFundMe account. And other than that, just thanks for being here. Thanks for viewing this channel. Thanks for watching my videos. I always appreciate your comments. Your thumbs up are always greatly appreciated. And subscribers, I'm truly, truly grateful for you for subscribing and sometimes watching me just go on and on about kayaking or smartwatches. But it's a passion of mine. I like sharing my experiences with others. And if I can help people make an informed decision about something, I'm happy to do that. So I think I'll leave it right there. Thanks for hanging out with me. And let me know if you want to do this again sometime, and we'll do it. Have a great weekend, and talk to you soon.